That's right. We're live. It's the Working Fans podcast. The man they call Dave, AJ Strangebrew, and we're talking a little radio. Tell me everything you know. Talking some Matt Cardona, baby, trained by Mikey Ripwreck. Let's get started. AJ, why'd you pick this topic?
I picked this topic because I was told to pick this topic. I actually have a great deal of respect for Matt Cardona.
I do. I like Matt. I like Matt.
He is great at self-promotion. He was pretty much handcuffed by the WWE. We'll get into all this stuff, of course. But throughout it all, he has done a great job with self-promotion, keeps himself in phenomenal shape, and has overcome a lot in his life. So this should be a fun one.
Yeah, I was teasing because I know this is our first time kind of profiling a wrestler, and me and AJ don't usually go too in depth on things, but so this is a little in depth for us. But and I know his memory isn't always the best, so that's why I took some notes. I thought we had a little fun, but before I did that,
in fairness, I've had a lot more concussions.
That's fair. But let me ask you. So before we even get started, what is your first memory of Matt Cardona?
My first memory is as an edgehead.
Okay. All right, good, because that's where I kind of was, and then
the Major Brothers. Sorry,
the Major Brothers, right?
Yeah. The Major Brothers, and then he became an edgehead, but they look the same, so that's
right. They did. So they were the Major Brothers, and they were doing the WWE.
Yeah, him and Brian Myers. Yeah,
him and Brian Myers. Kurt Hawkins at the time.
Yeah.
Well, you might even have another name at that point, but they were the Majors. Yeah.
Yeah, so, I was just going with his actual name since we're going with Matt Cardona's name also.
Yes. So they started off as the Major Brothers, and the way the story goes, if I remember correctly, he told this on Edge's podcast, and I think Jericho's podcast. Kurt Hawkins actually, after they were told to pitch an idea, like creative down in development, and I think Michael Hayes liked the Edgeheads, like they came up with this idea about the Edgeheads and everything. But you can't just be Edge's lackeys, it's got to be a story for it. And I believe Kurt Hawkins actually sent an email to Edge, who they only had kind of high and buy conversations to. Edge thankfully read it.
Really? So the jobbing tag team, who's brand new to the organization, only had fleeting conversations with Edge.
Right. And they got Edge read his email, and he loved it. And actually, it was in 2007 Armageddon. The Edgeheads hit under the ring. I think we've seen plenty of times now.
Yeah.
And they helped Edge defeat Undertaker and Batista in a triple threat match to win his first world title. And they became part of, I want to say the group's name was La Familia. And they had like Vicky Guerrero, who was like the general manager, Chavo Guerrero. And here's a name for you. Bam Neely was part of that group. You remember Bam Neely?
Yeah, I remember Bam Neely. He was supposed to be like a tough guy who they freaking named similar to hockey great Cam Neely, who at the time was playing for the Boston Bruins.
And yeah, I don't even know if Bam was like the biggest guy in that group.
He wasn't. He wasn't a bad worker. It was just a ridiculous gimmick and whatever.
So yeah, so
I'm sure. Other than us, the three other people that remember him love it.
Yeah, you're tuning in. Look up Bam Neely. I like to see what he's up to. I didn't look him up what he was up to. I just kind of.
I'm sure he's selling cars in Hipscotch, New England, or something like that. I don't know.
In Scotland, for all I know.
Yeah, I don't.
So they go on, and they ended up winning the tag titles at one point of that group. It was Great American Bash 2008. They defeated John Morrison, The Miz, Jesse, and Festus. And it says Finley and Hornswoggle apparently part of that match. Now, before we move on.
Yeah, that Festus hasn't gone on to
that. I was going to ask you. That's where I was going. For the audience who doesn't know, who is Festus?
Yeah, he's one of the Good Brothers. You might recognize him. He's done a couple things since then. He hasn't gotten over as much as Jesse has, Bam Bam Bigelow's kid, but he's done pretty well for himself.
Luke Gallows.
I guessed. I'm pretty sure he goes by Doc Gallows, though.
I believe Jesse actually is Terry Gordy's kid.
He is. He's Terry Gordy's son. Oh. And then Terry Gordy's daughter is getting her start with I believe MLW coming up. So
Yeah,
in
I thought you were
Texas.
talking Bam Bam Bigelow. You meant Bam Bam Terry Gordy, sir.
There's only one Bam Bam.
Yeah, Bam Bam Bigelow.
Bam Bam Terry Gordy.
Well, so after that stint, this is where he ended up going back to WWE's ECW, and this is probably his most famous part of his career, Zack Ryder.
Yeah,
And,
Long Island Ice Z.
Long Island IC, which we'll get to that in just in 1 second. So Zack,
dude, so they got to compete in the best version of ECW. How lucky are they?
So his debut as Zack Ryder, and if you look at this up, like just like in my research, like you look at like a Wikipedia, it's it says he beat some jobber, and the jobber's trunks exploded.
Yes.
Well, that jobber is.
I know who that jobber is. Yes.
So I thought that was funny.
Yes, and that clip gets played every once in a while in places, and yeah, it's become an urban legend all on its own.
Yes, it has. It even led to some success in the past year for Rory. Rory was under Talking Shop, Talking Shop Mania.
Whoa. Screw that, man. He made it big time. He got to the Working Fans podcast.
I like to think that the Talking Shop boys, heard him on our podcast and then said, hey, we got to have that guy.
Dude, we got to get this guy on.
Except for I think I got him after.
You did. You got him right after. It's
but
fine.
Rory's a great guy. He's willing to do this.
Rory's one of the best. Matter of fact, Rory, we need to get you back on.
Yes, we do. He was actually our first guest on our first live show with the Buzz. He did not have.
Dude, he was great.
Yeah, but he had that best internet connection that night. But yeah, it was.
His technical capabilities suck.
Might be better now though. He's got a little buzz this year. So,
but he was fantastic.
After that, I looked it up. This would, I would say, probably be his career highlight on that ECW brand. And I'd forgotten this. He beat Tommy Dreamer and Tommy in a loser leave ECW match. So, fun fact: the reason why Tommy Dreamer is no longer a part of ECW is because of Zack Ryder.
Tommy.
And then we started the YouTube series, the Long Island IZ. Actually, I believe it's Z True Long Island.
Yes, it was a play on the Hollywood True Stories or whatever the hell that is. True Hollywood Stories or whatever, but it was his version of that from Long Island, and it was outstanding.
Yes, now
look it up. It's still out there.
It's still out. So let's and there's guys like his friends, the Big O he had on there. His father would make appearances. Now,
his father was entertaining.
In your words, because I did the prep, so I'll put this to you. In your words, what happened next after he started that show?
Oh, then he got buried.
No, not right away. I mean, he was already getting buried.
No, that's true. That's true.
Right.
So fans started chanting for him and actually cheering for him, and he was actually getting over on his own. The crowd was going nuts, as a certain individual would say they were going bananas, and it was outstanding. So the WWE did what they always do, Dave. What did they do when the crowd really got behind Zack Ryder?
Well, first they didn't know what to do. And at this time, they actually did throw him a little bit of a bone. He started to get on TV. People were chanting his name, even though he wasn't.
I wonder if they thought at first that the crowd was cheering for him because he was a WWE superstar and didn't actually have a grasp as to why the fans were cheering for him.
I don't know, but this is what happened. Basically, so this is around 2011, and by the end of 2011, he won the U.S. title from Dolph Ziggler. And they put him over. And what happened the following year was basically he fell off the map pretty much. He was jobbing. And more importantly, he was barely on TV because they didn't want you to even see him. They hit him.
They put him on milk cartons. People were looking for Zack Ryder. They were like, where's Zack Ryder?
Yeah. I mean, so that was like 2012. I want to say it's like 2015 or so. At some point, maybe he had the Hype Bros would be the right.
No, well, wait a minute, because he did have the program. You're glossing over one of his best programs here.
Okay. We're not going to talk about that one with Kane.
Yes, where he got to date one of the hottest chicks in wrestling.
You talk about
Miss Royce Gracie's wife there.
Eve Torres Gracie.
Eve Torres Gracie, yes. So he's in storyline. He got to date her through that storyline, and then that ended well.
Cena.
Yeah,
Who was a babyface.
Yeah,
Cena made out, and then basically Kane like threw him off. He was in a wheelchair for some reason. Kane
wheelchair. He got beat up, put in a wheelchair, and Kane just got rid of him, and that was the end of him until we saw him again.
Right, which and he'd hang around here and there, but basically the Hype Brothers was kind of probably his next push. Now,
well, once they get hyped, they stay hyped.
So I took this quote. This is from Inside the Ropes. Yeah, that's right, Joe. I quoted one of my researchers here from Inside the Ropes. I wouldn't bring that. This is from Matt Cardona. I wouldn't bring the Hype Brothers anywhere. Dean Mutati, that's Mojo's real name. As a human being, love him. Mojo, hate him. Tough shit, not happening. He can come backstage and hang out in my private dressing room, but we will never be in front of people on camera together ever again. He doesn't like that. That's worse than the Kane. He was not a fan of the Hype Bros.
Well, all I can say to that is woo, woo, woo.
You know it.
I agree with him 100%. I think that the Mojo Rawley character is one of the stupidest things I've ever seen in my life. Can you imagine? I have to believe that that's what they base NXT 2.0 on, is his colors and his actual performance in the ring.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Where is Mojo Rawley? Does anybody know?
That's a good question. So quick sidebar, Mojo, I did not look him up, but I was wondering the same thing. Like
is he working with Bam Neely?
He's not working with any independents at all. So then 2016 was interesting because for some reason, inexplicably, this Ryder guy who's like a tag wrestler and not used on TV ends up in the ladder match for the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania 2.
Yeah.
And he wins it
after not being pushed at all and basically disappearing. All of a sudden, he's in this ladder match, which nobody knows why, and he wins it.
He wins it.
And then when he successfully defended it the next night,
that's sort of story. Yeah, no. The next night he loses it to Miz.
That's right.
And Miz goes on a really successful run as Intercontinental Champion. Really restores some prominence back to that Intercontinental title and makes it feel important. I believe Zach got his dad smacked on that show.
Yeah. He couldn't have done it without Zack Ryder. I mean, that was amazing.
I think somewhere at this point, Mojo might have turned on him too. So again, now that's Mania 32. Now,
wait a minute. First of all, don't gloss over that. That Mojo heel turn was absolutely incredible. That memorable, really. I think that it'll go down as one of the great surprises of all time.
Well, at some point, Kurt Hawkins came back to the company, which you remember Goldberg had that huge undefeated streak for a while. Well, Kurt had the opposite of one of those. He just kept losing every week, and they actually kept track. I think it was like,
but he did wear Mets colors, which made it more sense. I mean, if you're going to keep losing, you should look like you're on the New York Mets.
Well, they lost a lot, and they started teaming up again. And then
they continued the losing, so that was cool.
Continued to lose, and then they won a match or not before, but basically, some reason or another, again, WrestleMania 35, they won the tag belts.
Yeah.
They beat the Revival. One of the greatest tag teams of all time.
Now, wait a minute. Let's be fair. Yeah. Let's be fair here because Kurt Hawkins Brian Myers and Matt Cardona actually are both really, really good wrestlers.
They are. This is all about how he's been pushed at this point.
and in this time period, Matt Cardona does help out at a place in Long Island called Create-A Pro, which is actually owned and ran by Brian Myers along with Pat. Pat Buck. And so they train a lot, and they've trained a lot of great wrestlers, including Chris Statlander, who's working in AEW right now. I don't know why I'm going blank on other ones, but I know that there's a lot of them that have come out of that.
Well, I mean, they also have a huge podcast, the Major Brothers podcast, where they talk about
Absolutely.
their love for action figures, and they have a ton of
Yeah,
people listen
action
to.
figures. Do not call them wrestling dolls.
But yeah, this guy continues to be a success, really, in spite of his booking throughout the years in
I just
WWE.
wanted to be fair because when we talk about them wrestling with FTR is probably the best tag team in the world right now.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make sure that they got their due as a tag team. Even though they may not be FTR, they are a really good tag team and
Oh,
have
they
been.
are. Yeah,
So.
this booking is just it's crazy that he would have once in a while get these bones thrown to him, and then they would quickly.
The WWE, I think, kept him locked under contract forever just to make sure he didn't go anywhere and succeed.
So on April 15th, Hope Hawkins and Ryder were released from W contracts. This is in 2019 as part of the COVID 19 pandemic budget cuts at that time. Even though we cut even more people this year, I think.
So now, when you cut somebody and you let them go, that's not the nicest thing in the world to get let go. However, I think the best thing to do when you do that is to go into the future, on a good note and push their girlfriend to a point where you ask to borrow their house for a vignette. I think that's the way to go.
Right. So there is a story. So eventually, Zack Ryder's girlfriend, Matt Cardona's girlfriend, Chelsea Green, was still working for the company at the time. They wanted to do a vignette, and they thought that Ryder's pool would really be good.
And I believe this was literally right after being released. Yes.
Like, he's not going to be with the company.
Yeah. Hey, I know we've buried you for years, even when you got yourself over, and then we just let you go. Can we use your pool?
15-year career at WWE too. So he would show up after that in AEW for a few appearances. Nothing really happened. They decided not to go with him. And then this is the crazy part of his career. So now, in the last year, he's revitalized his career. I never would have saw this coming. The GCW Deathmatch Champion, basically. He basically shows up. He has this online feud with Nick Gage on social media. And then after a match, Nick Gage, there's a druid behind him. Like one of Undertaker's druid, he's dressed all in black. And this druid is walking like John Moxley, because everybody's expecting Moxley and Gage are going to feud at this point. And the Zack Ryder thing, the Matt Cardona thing, is kind of off to the side. He's just kind of insulting. So nobody expects Cardona to show up.
No. Especially at GCW, because Matt Cardona was known for that WWE style. Right. He's not known for doing death matches and freaking blood.
Cardona, who's behind him spoiler, it's Matt Cardona. He's in the druid costume. He kicks him, gives him the double underarm hook DDT.
Like he's Moxley.
He's Moxley, yeah. And Cardona would go on to win the GCW Heavyweight Championship.
Now,
and wait
a minute. Something we have to
Deathmatch champion. He started dressing up like Vince McMahon when Vince McMahon had the ECW title and had the do-rag. Started calling them the GCW Universe.
Yeah, but you're skipping over something here. The crowd actually responded when he pulled off the druid costume, and it wasn't John Moxley.
Yeah, they threw water bottles and trash.
Yeah, it was not a good response.
No. The GCW audience absolutely hated him. And absolutely, this... this totally right. He became the talk of the town, though. Like, he was good for GCW. It was good for his career, and he's continued while doing this, and he's evolved into this great character in GCW. But he's continued to also show up in other organizations like Impact Wrestling, where he shows up and actually gets involved and has a world championship match there. Well, I was going to come with that. So basically, but. He even brought the internet title back to GCW. He used that. He lost it to Effie. And I think he just lost the Loser Leaves GCW match to Effie right now. Yeah. But I don't know if he's done with GCW, despite the fact, but his career.
I find it hard to believe he's just leaving his title there and completely gone.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that he's been really big for that company, and that company's been really big for him. I think
he did a great job of getting Effie over too. We've seen Effie wrestle live and in person, and he is very entertaining wrestler, very good at what he does. And him and Cardona put on a hell of a show.
But to what AJ was saying earlier too, he is currently in Impact Wrestling and NWA, and right now he's essentially feuding with both companies' world champions.
Yeah.
He just showed up with NWA, and basically he hasn't challenged Trevor Murdoch for the belt yet, but you can see this is where the feud's going. Trevor doesn't know why he's there. And he's been, again, doing things on social media. He's like, poor Trevor. He's not even verified on Twitter. The NWA and him need all the help. And, of course, Trevor, here's a throwback, right? He says, Zach, we don't, or Matt, he says, we don't have the same things that are important to us.
Hey, Dave, big news, Dave. Somebody's tuning in.
Well, hey, welcome show. So
great, you pissed him off.
So NWA heavyweight champion, and that's all that matters to him. At the end of the day, I mean, you know, Cardona is now the center of attention at NWA, Impact Wrestling. He was the toast of town at GCW. What do you think is next for this guy?
Well, first of all, let's talk about the fact that I think that he is one of the success stories leaving the WWE.
Yeah.
I wonder what could have happened in his career if he even left even sooner. He definitely has trailblazed the use of social media. He was ahead of the curve on that, and he's been tremendous. I think that it's actually he's going to improve. He's still wrestling at a high level. He keeps himself in incredibly good shape. I would not be surprised if he wins one of the two world championships. I wouldn't be surprised if he wins the NWA or the Impact Championship, because he would be a hell of a heel. He would be a guy who people can come after. He's still vulnerable as a champion heel,
right.
which is something that Flair always brought to the table, was that he was always vulnerable. You believed somebody could actually beat him.
Yeah, HBK, Brett.
HBK.
Yeah, all those guys.
I like Zach. I'm one of those people who never understood why the WWE didn't use him more. He clearly had a connection with fans, and not just in a positive way when people want to cheer for him. When he's a heel, people hate him. They want to hate him. He comes across as smug. He's got the tan. Somehow he's got the bald spot that went away. People want to boo this guy.
Yeah, I think he, I wouldn't be shocked too if he actually came back to WWE someday. I'm not saying that's like the right move for him right now.
I would rather him not.
No, but I mean, like, I could see him in a trainer role or something down the road too. Like, he's just a guy I think everybody like behind the scenes loves. And I think he's a guy.
You never hear anything bad about him.
Not really. I can't think of anything. I think most people just love him. He seems like he's just an honest.
And the thing is, you said earlier that AEW didn't want him. I don't think it said AEW didn't want him.
I didn't say that. I said he just had a cup of coffee there. I think for whatever reason, it might not have been the right fit at the time for both.
Yeah, I don't think he wanted to sign with AEW. I think at that time he wanted to actually do more of the independent work.
Yeah,
to get out there, spread himself around. He is in real life really good friends with Cody Rhodes. Mm-hmm. They have this weird love affair of Disneyland, I guess.
Star Wars.
Yeah, Star Wars and Disney and all that stuff, which is fine. People have a right to be nerds. I'm not judging just because it's pathetic. We as Disney comes after us, that's all I need. But when you have a connection like that and you have a friend like that, you never know when he's going to show up, when he's not going to show up. If he becomes the Impact champion, you could see a relationship there again between Impact and AEW. You just don't know. So, well, not only that, but there's been a relationship between NWA and AEW through the years.
So then one final prediction from you, and I'll give one too. What do you see for him this career this year?
I think he's winning one of the two belts, if not both of them.
Okay. All right. I'm going to, a little harder to predict. I bet you at some point, though, he comes back to GCW. And
absolutely. I don't think he's leaving his internet title there.
Yeah. And
well, why would he just leave his belt that he actually owns?
I think he's going to be a multiple promotional champion.
He could end up winning all three belts, to be honest with you.
I could see him being, I don't know if it's going to be Impact. He's not going to win it yet. He's not going to win it from Moose yet. Moose right now is calling him Mid Cardona and making fun of him. And I think what's going to happen here is he's technically a baby face at Impact right now. I think at some point when he doesn't win this belt, he's going to be a heel.
Well, that's the funny thing is he's a baby face in Impact. He's a heel in NWA, and he's definitely a heel in GCW.
Yeah.
But here's something that I could see happening. during WrestleMania weekend in Dallas, that you're going to want a big event.
Yeah.
If Cardona has all 3 belts by the time they get to WrestleMania, you could see a super show between NWA, GCW, and Impact Wrestling for that weekend. You could see a super show in Dallas between the 3 of them.
Hey, I got a fantasy booker for you. How fun would this be, and how much heat would he get? Ring of Honor comes back for a big show
over Jonathan Gresham.
And,
oh my God!
Cardona takes the Ring of Honor World Championship. And
you're taking one of the purest wrestlers in the world, and Jonathan Gresham
put the belt on Mr. Sports Entertainment,
and Mr. Sports Entertainment beats him for the Ring of Honor Championship, where they take wrestling more seriously than anything.
Yeah.
That would they might blow the house up.
I think that'd be something. I'd love to see it.
You might see the building come down.
Yeah. Well, on that note, this was our first, kind of profile wrestler. We'll probably do a few more of these, and I
think it was fun. I'm looking forward to doing more of them.
I think we'll have to do. Eventually, we're going to do some bigger wrestlers, maybe like a Terry Funk. The Dory Funk, maybe I'll have AJ do the research one of these, because I know AJ's willing to do the research if he's willing.
I'm absolutely willing. If you give me somebody I'm interested in, I'll do the research for it.
Yeah, maybe a Dory Funk Jr. might.
Yeah, we could do Dory Funk Jr. We could talk about what people think that Dory Funk Jr. is boring. I could tell you why he's not.
Yeah.
But I do want to mention something real quick before we duck out here. I know this is a live show.
Yeah, I know. We're the best podcast. We do the work so you don't have to.
Yeah. That's my catchphrase for the end of the show.
Oh, okay.
But now here in the middle of the show, this Sunday, there's a live event for those of you in the Connecticut area. There's a live event for Test of Strength Wrestling in East Hartford, Connecticut. You can see them on Instagram. They're up and coming. They're trained by one of the best independent wrestlers. He was trained by Killer Kowalski. Absolutely incredible. Mr. Slick Wagner Brown. He has worked the independents for the last 30 to 40 years. He's incredible, but he's training these students and they're doing things the right way. And you got to support your local wrestling. So get out there. It's 2 p.m. Sunday. I'll be there to watch the show live. Hopefully you'll come and join me if you're listening to this podcast, and catch my friend and my trainer, Patrick Saint. He's an up-and-coming wrestler who's got a tag title shot coming up. Please make sure you check this out.
And, I think that about says it all. Working Fans Podcast.
We do the work so you don't have to.